Ninja, OJ over here from PlayerEssence, and welcome to the PE Nintendo Switch and gaming news video. Today, we've got a nice little discussion and some great news for all of you Fire Emblem Warriors fans out there, and something that I wanted back when I talked about this game when we first learned about the resolution and the frame rate of it. So according to the official Fire Emblem Warriors director, Fire Emblem Warriors will allow you to play the game in 60 frames per second, or probably right around there, in exchange for a lower resolution. Yes, our prayers of 60 frames per second Nintendo-themed Fire Emblem Warriors has been answered. So Fire Emblem Warriors will offer something that we have not seen with the Nintendo Switch games up to this point. In this month's issue of the Japanese magazine Nintendo Dream, it's revealed that the game will allow players to select a higher frame rate in exchange for a lower resolution. The director of the game, Hiroya Yusada, indicated that Fire Emblem Warriors was created with a 1080p resolution and 30 frames per second experience in mind. However, there is an option included that you can increase the frame rate to 60 frames per second while lowering the resolution to 720p. Usada hopes that those who want to focus on action can give the option a look. What Usada was discussing should only apply to the Nintendo Switch version of Fire Emblem Warriors. The new Nintendo 3DS version will almost certainly run at 30 frames per second, similar to the Hyrule Warriors Legends game. Something else worth mentioning from the Nintendo Dream interview is that you can change from classic to casual mode while playing. If you do so, lost characters will be revived. However, the game was made so that you can't change from casual to classic. Nintendo Dream has been conducting regular interviews with the Fire Emblem Warriors developers over the past few months. You can read up on that in the description below. And shout outs to Nintendo Everything for the article here. So yo, I gotta talk about this because this is something that I talked about a while ago. I think like 20 Fire Emblem Warriors videos ago, saying that these type of action games like Hyrule Warriors, Fire Emblem, you know, Ninja Gaiden, Devil May Cry, they're all so much better at 60 frames per second. And some people were saying, oh, well, you weren't saying that about, you know, Mario plus Rabbids. Well, because Mario plus Rabbids is a turn-based RPG. You don't necessarily need 60 frames per second or 1080p for a turn-based RPG. Heck, you don't really need 1080p for anything. It just looks nice on the bigger TVs. But giving us the option, especially those who want to play with the 60 frames per second, and I'm going to be streaming it at 720p anyway, so whatever you guys are looking at when I stream the game, it's going to be in 720p. I don't ever play anything when I live stream at 1080p. So for me, it's perfect because I'll get my 60 frames per second, and you guys will get your 60 frames per second that you can actually see it in, and it's going to be in my normal 720p resolution that I have all of my live streams in. So I have absolutely no problem with the game being a little bit blurry, and yes, it's probably not going to look as good. I have a big 4K TV. It's not going to look as good, but it is a trade-off. It is something that I will take. I will take that because this type of game plays much better in 60 frames per second, and I've been saying that since day one when it comes to action games. So I'm super hyped about it. So let's talk about some of the possibilities that this does open up. One of the things that I do know, as far as for me and my experience with 60 frames per second, which goes back a long ways. Obviously, 60 frames per second is something that I first really noticed as far as 60 frames was back like on the N64 when I played like the original Smash Brothers, because that was 60 frames per second. Whereas a lot of other games on the N64 were not 60 frames per second. A lot of them were 20 frames per second, or 25, or 30, or there's dips or slowdown. I mean, or a lot of them were locked. I can't sit there and say there was a lot of dips and slowdown in some of these games, but a lot of them did not optimize or did not prioritize 60 frames per second. Even Nintendo's own games, like The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, definitely had a horrible frame rate. Well, in today's standards. Obviously, it was back then, it was pushing the tech as hard as it could, so it was understandable back then. You didn't really notice it because it was pretty much locked for the most part. But I noticed it. I noticed that like when I played the games. I didn't know it was frames per second, I didn't know what it was called, but I just knew that the game ran slower. So then when I played Super Smash Bros., I was like, what is this? It's so smooth, it's so silky. And then moving on to the GameCube, you can clearly tell as far as 60 frames per second, you can clearly tell Metroid. We started getting more information, people started talking about it a little bit more. Still not where we are at this point with Digital Foundry analyzing everything with some type of crazy machine that they hook up, but people were still talking about whether it was 60 frames per second, whether it was 30, and you could tell the difference between them, because like when you played, like example, Metroid Prime, you knew that was just that silky smooth shooting, and it felt faster or smoother than a lot of the other games that were coming out, whether it was the realistic shooters, the Call of Duty Duties and other games on GameCube or on PlayStation or Microsoft systems. So you knew it was like that smoother experience. Because I played the heck out of Halo on the original Xbox, and that was 30 frames per second, and I was completely fine with that and did not care because that was amazing. It had LAN play, it was so much fun, whatever. You know, it was the best. It was the best multiplayer experience in that generation, hands down, for me and my friends at least. That and Mario Kart Double Dash. But anyway, so yeah, this is definitely big news. This is something that I've been wanting, and I was hoping that they would include this, but this opens up kind of like the Pandora's box for other Nintendo Switch games. Now we know this can be done. Before, we haven't really seen this at all. I don't think there was any Wii U games that you had this option to lower the resolution in order to get a better frame rate. I don't recall one Wii U game that you can do that. Now, there might have been something out there because I didn't play every single Wii U game, but there was definitely no mainstream or mainline Nintendo games that allowed you to do that. So this opens up the box for other developers. Now we know it's possible. So when developers try to say, oh, well, we were trying to just do this, like, hey, hold up here, like Fire Emblem Warriors, they made it possible to where you can lower the resolution in order to get a better frame rate. And the last game, at least that I remember, that did this without like a PS4 Pro or something like that, I think it was like Neo on the PlayStation 4, to where you can make it run at 720p 60 or you can pick 1080p 30. And that's a game, if I was playing it on the PlayStation 4, I would definitely want 720p 60 because that's an action game. You need razor like sharp reflexes. It's a Dark Souls type of game. So yeah, you definitely want to have that frame rate over some resolution that doesn't matter at all. So, well, it does matter, but it doesn't matter as much as the frame rate in the game. So this is really good to see. Now, I don't think it'll be a locked 60 frames per second. I'll be very surprised if it is, if they were able to optimize that much within the time frame, but that's something that Nintendo and their developers have always worked on doing. When you first see a game, it might look a little bit rough, and then it gets better and better, and even like 3 or 4 months before launch, there's still time to optimize that baby. So maybe they got it fully optimized, maybe it runs at a locked 30 frames per second because there are some dips at the E3 and people were like, oh, there's gonna be some dips, oh, it's gonna suck. I was like, oh, calm down, let's wait till we see the finished product. So maybe there's going to be a locked 30 frames per second with the dynamic resolution of 1080p, because I think that's what they were doing at the E3. But remember, that's an old build of the game. Just because we watched it then, that doesn't mean it's the most newest or the latest build. That means it's just the build that they had there. So that's probably a few months old. So that was from earlier in the first half of the year. It wasn't the latest one. So obviously they get better and better. But overall, I'm hyped and excited about this. I think it was a fantastic idea, and we should definitely be applauding this and making sure other developers let us know, let us have that option if we can go down. Obviously, stuff like Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle wasn't built with that in mind, okay? Whatever the case is, Legend of Zelda, they're just trying to get that game out. That's a Wii U game. You're having Wii U code. That's a problem when you're doing 2 different games. So you can't apply it to everything, but you can apply it to maybe some of these second tier, third tier games as far as when they're released, not the launch titles. But the games that are being announced and coming out maybe 2018, let them know, like, hey, we could like this option as well. I know I will, but I'm just happy that they were able to include this in, because I'm pretty sure with the Nintendo Switch, or really any game, you kind of have to program that in mind, because some of the benefits of the console are that it's not a PC, that you don't have to optimize and code and say, okay, this person's going to pick this, make sure the gameplay experience is like this. Okay, this person's going to pick this option. Okay, the gameplay experience is going to be like this. That's what you have to do on PC, whereas consoles, the whole benefit of it is like, okay, well, this is the way that it runs. This is all we have to worry about. So I doubt that every single developer or every single producer is all of a sudden going to have a revelation or something like that and say, okay, we're going to do this too, just because that's more work on top of everything that already entails in gaming and game development, which is a lot more than consumers even realize. But I'm just glad that if it's available, if you can, definitely get that option in there if you can, especially if you're making an action game, you're making a Muso game. 60 frames per second would be awesome. That's what people want in these style of games, and I wanted that with Hyrule Warriors. Didn't get it. Okay, that's fine. We got the Nintendo Switch. It's stronger. We can do it. And I think this pretty much 100% absolutely slays the whole, oh, well, the Nintendo Switch isn't much stronger, or that stupid argument than like the Wii U or anything like that. Yeah, it has plenty of power in order for it to do this. At least we can get that 720p 60 frames per second, which that wasn't an option on the Wii U at all. And I don't think it would even be an option on the Wii U, even if they tried to program for it. And maybe if it was, maybe it would be like sub HD. So I don't think they would have even done that at all. Then you have to worry with the gamepad. There's just too much stuff that kind of comes into play because you're rendering that 480p, then you're also rendering that on screen. It's just, no, it would have happened. So it's not even worth bringing up. So this is great news, guys. I absolutely love it. I think it's going to really be a game changer for many people out there, myself included, because this is an action game, like I said, and I think it could potentially even sell more units because of that, or people won't wait as long. Now you can get your 60 frames per second action right then and there with a ton of great Fire Emblem characters. It's probably going to have a really good story. The story's looking good, characters are looking good, the gameplay's looking fun, and there's a lot of cool stuff that they've implemented from the Fire Emblem franchise into this. So I'm hyped and excited and ready to purchase this game. Man, we have to wait till October, though. We have to wait till October. I got a solid 7 days to do everything that I can in that game, 100% it, before we get into some Mario Odyssey in October. Plus, we got Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle coming up. Good time to be a freaking Nintendo Switch gamer. Seriously, there's a lot of good stuff coming up, guys. But anyway, let me know what you guys think about this news in addition to the discussion as well. I would love to hear you guys' thoughts. Alright, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Go ahead and check out the links in the description below. We've got Facebook, we've got Twitter. Go ahead and give us a like and a follow on our social media. Really helps us spread the content of PlayerEssence across the interwebs in addition to YouTube. Also, make sure you check out our Patreon page. Pledge any tier and be entered in to win some awesome prizes each month. In addition to that, we have Discord voice chat and $10 prize eShop tournaments for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Splatoon 2, and more. So support PE Live and PE Arena right here on PlayerEssence. Also, make sure you hit that like button if you did like this video. Lets me know you guys want more content like this going forward in the future. And subscribe to PlayerEssence for the latest news, reviews, discussions, and more. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you ninja for the next video. Peace.